Welcome to Epic Begins with One Step Forward, the podcast that reveals how to plan, achieve, and enjoy the journey of creating epic results in your life, business, health, and relationships. Here's your host, best-selling author and motivational speaker, Xander Sprague.
Hello, Epic people, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Epic Begins with One Step Forward. I'm your host, Xander Sprague, and today, boy, do we have an epic story for you. I have Matt Harmody here with me. Matt, tell me who you are and what you do.
Yes, glad to be here, Xander. I am a retired emergency physician. I am also a living kidney donor, and I currently do advocacy work for all things living kidney donation.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that part, but you've done some epic things in your life here, Matt. And one of those, which is really cool, I want to start off with, is talking about how you're in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Yes, so I guess we could add to my intro list being an author, first-time author, which is certainly related to climbing mountains and the Guinness World Record. So we put together a team of 5 living kidney donors and made an attempt at the Guinness World Record for summiting each of the highest points in all 50 states in the shortest amount of time.
And how were you successful?
Yes, we were. It was quite an adventure. The previous record, I believe, was set back in the 1980s, was a little over 43 days, just to put it in perspective for folks. And we were just a bit over 41 hours at the end.
Wow. Wow. That's great. I can't say that I've climbed, all the highest peaks in all the states. I've climbed a few. So for you, what was sort of your easiest ascent and what was your most challenging?
Yeah, I think for the team, maybe a little bit more under the background for your audience. We had 5 teammates, as I've mentioned, and we had 3 climbers and 2 support people. A ton of logistics went into planning this trip, as one might imagine,
Sure.
figuring out the route around the 50 states, which ones to do first, which ones should be saved for the end. There were all kinds of restrictions, as you well know, if you've climbed some summits. Many of them require permits, and
Yep.
those permits are usually only good for that day that
Yeah.
you get them. And sometimes it's a lottery. In other cases, it's private property that the high point is on. So
Yep.
sometimes the property owners have a very strict window for when people can actually go to that state's high point. So a lot of months of preparation, and the decision was made to start on Denali. So, and that clearly is the hardest of the 50 for many
Undoubtedly.
reasons.
Yeah.
Yes.
Weather,
So you
height,
brought, that's right.
route, all of that.
Our captain, Dave Ashley, actually has the incredible distinction as a mountaineer of having summited all of the 7 summits. So those were the highest points in each of the 7 continents
Yeah.
around the world. And the primary purpose of the trip was to raise awareness for living kidney donation, basically showing that you can really do whatever you want, and certainly what you did previous to your donation.
Definitely.
Now, most kidney donors are not climbing mountains, but that made it much more interesting. And Dave felt that doing something within the United States would be much more relatable to people. When I talk to people about our trip and about the book I wrote, a lot of people at least know their own state's high point, and many of them
Sure.
have been to it, in fact. So it's much more relatable to people. And we had a ton of people come out and support us at many of the high points. And those kinds of things, Xander, are tough to do. When you're in a foreign country,
Oh,
thousands of miles
absolutely.
away. So yeah, Denali definitely the hardest. The easiest, there probably were quite a few. I would share a brief anecdote from the book.
Uh, sure.
On one of the easier ones, before we started out, Dave, our captain, got a little bit of grief on social media with someone joking about how difficult Florida would be. So Florida happens to be the lowest state high point
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
about 350 feet. So you would, most people probably guess that Florida's on that list.
Yeah.
And, Dave took a little bit of offense to that and wanted people to be focusing on some of the more difficult ones. And
Definitely.
there are some quite difficult ones that require technical climbing skills and specialized equipment. So, Florida was maybe half to two-thirds into the trip, and we kept pestering Dave to do something entertaining for Florida and somewhat a response to the
The
jokester
Josh.
that
Yeah.
was giving
Exactly.
us a hard time about it. So
Yeah.
he was very serious guy, very accomplished veteran and accomplished endurance athlete. And it took us a long time to convince him, but we finally did, and we got him to dress up in all his mountaineering gear that he would have worn on Denali. So he had all the winter clothes on, he had an ice axe, crampons, and then we had him kind of trudge to the high point slowly like he was like he
Yeah.
was climbing a mountain. And then we had a young man that helped us with videography and photography with us. Guinness required a ton of information and support
Sure.
to approve the record, as you might imagine. So he's got a lot of gifted skills in media presentations. So he overlaid some, blowing wind and some snow,
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
then he posted the, I don't know, 10-15 second video on social media, and that probably got more response in a positive fashion about the trip than just about any other part of
Well,
the trip.
well, that's funny. Hopefully, it wasn't too hot when he was in all that gear.
Well, it was at night. It wasn't 95 and sunny,
That's
but
good.
certainly it probably wasn't very cool either.
Yeah. Cool. So, one of the mountains that you climbed is one that I've actually also climbed. Not necessarily particularly difficult, but Mount Washington in New Hampshire.
Yes, it's a
And
pretty popular one, and people may or may not know it's not all 50 states are obviously like Denali.
oh, sure.
Some some are what are called drive ups, so people can actually drive to the summit,
Yep.
park, get out, make a short walk to the true high point. And Mount Washington would be one of those.
Yep.
Some are flat as a board, and again, you drive up or walk a short distance to the high point, and then you have everything in between. Of course, out west and the West Coast has some pretty significant mountains. Mount Hood, Mount Rainier. Those are very serious climbs again with technical climbing gear. But yes, Mount Washington known for the highest recorded
Wind
wind
speed. Yeah.
speed ever. I
Yeah.
believe 240 miles an hour.
Something like that.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty windy up there. I distinctly remember we had to get video and photographs at each of the high points for Guinness. And I can remember standing up there, and it temperature wasn't too cold, but with that wind, it was
It
howling.
kinda hard to stand up. Yeah,
Yes.
when I did it many, many years ago, we went up Tuckerman's Ravine and stuff, and I remember when we got to the top that, yes, it was quite blustery, and you're like, "Alright, I'm at the top. Now I'm going down because I don't need to spend a
Yes.
lot of time up here." So, well, that's really cool. What was your favorite ascent?
I'll start by answering that question, Xander, by saying, "Oh my gosh, the topography, the geography, the every high point was different, and it was just a joy to travel around the country and see all these places many are very remote, but
Right.
to just really appreciate the beauty and the vastness of our country. I would maybe say Arizona's Humphreys Peak. It's about 12,600. So, it's up there, and it's has a ski resort attached to it.
Right.
So, we're kind of May, June timeframe. There was still, we unfortunately picked coming out of a winter that set records out west, not so much Colorado and Utah, but
Right. Lots of
Montana.
snow. Yeah.
Yeah, a ton of snow, which really set us back and actually caused us, Xander, our hope was to finish in Maine for many reasons. And
Yeah.
we had to leave 5 Western high points back. So we finished in Maine and then had to take a plane to LAX to finish the last 5. So it gave us an extra 2 weeks of snow melt.
Yeah.
It was amazing how much different those climbs were. But yeah, Humphreys Peak was fun. The snow was intermittent, but the trail was very icy, and we kind of went out up late afternoon and came down at night, and we decided to what's called bushwhack down. So to avoid the icy trail, we just basically went straight down the mountain in all the snow.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that was the best decision in hindsight. It was so steep and quite difficult to come down, and lots of slips and falls. But yeah, I mean, we kind of hung together and got finally got down to uh, a gravel road, which was probably a green slope, a green run during
Yeah.
ski season, and safely made it back down. But yeah, just a ton of anecdotes in that on that trip. So many memorable, most of which I captured in my book.
Right. Well, and like any, I mean, obviously major epic journey, but on any epic journey that any of us go on, there are things that we learn about ourselves and our own resilience and ability. Because even if you're really confident, you just never know when you get out there. I've done some pretty cool stuff. Lucky to travel to many places, but I can tell you every epic adventure, I learned something about myself. I learned sometimes that I have a lot more resilience than I thought when stuff doesn't go exactly right. And having climbed a few mountains in my life, I also know when you start off, you think everything's fine, and oftentimes stuff goes slightly sideways, and the weather, which was
Yes.
supposed to be clear, all of a sudden, you're socked in really cold rain, and you just don't have all the right equipment. So yeah, I get that. So for you, what were some of the things as you reflect back on it that you learned about yourself?
I think I would back up, Xander, to the first, I guess, true mountain that I climbed, especially with other living kidney donors. So I donated back in 2017, and
Mhm.
probably somewhat of a closet donor. I only really shared it with close family and my work colleagues. I'm not really a self promoter, and it was just an important thing for me to do. And however, that all changed when I got an invite to kind of try out, audition, interview for joining 22 living kidney donors to summit Mount Kilimanjaro.
Oh, wow.
And that was back in 2022. I'd never done anything like that before. I know that you've got a running background. I've done plenty of running, ultras, what are called adventure races. I've been in all kinds of very long endurance events, but I've never been to that type of altitude. And I can remember you talk about what you've learned and how your mindset has changed. Most everything I'd done up to that point was timed,
Yeah.
and I was maybe not competing with everyone else in the race, but more so competing with myself.
Absolutely.
And when my wife dropped me off at the airport at 30, I made the promise to her that I'm gonna do my best to enjoy this trip as a journey, and especially the climb, and not be too concerned or even disappointed if I don't summit, because
Right.
like you said, there's a ton of variables. I'd never been at that altitude, and Kilimanjaro is 19,341, so it's up there. So I really did enjoy it. I didn't know anyone on the trip prior, so got a chance to meet a lot of cool and interesting people. And it's a long hike. It's certainly difficult near the top, but there's no technical climbing required.
Yeah.
So it's really, within the wheelhouse of anyone that's even of average fitness. And we had some people that weren't, super athletes or even weekend
Sure.
warriors. But yeah, that mindset changed. So that's the mindset I had for the 50 state summit trip is, let's enjoy the experience. Yes, we're on the clock, and that kept everybody on their toes. But yeah, you talk about checklists. We kind of had a Bible that was about 2 inches thick. And again, part of that was documentation for Guinness, but a lot of it was checklists and resources and people to call. So at every trailhead, we knew the closest gas station, the closest place to dump water from the RV and fill up,
Yeah.
the closest grocery stores, and yeah, and we had all the directions, and sometimes we had to modify those directions. We had a Garmin RV device that you could actually plug in the height of your RV, and it would reroute you around, especially bridges that were too low for you to pass.
Got it. Oh,
So,
that's
so
really
that,
good.
yeah, so that threw us off course. One particular summit, and then old Dave got a little excited. It's like, this isn't the right way. And like, listen, the Garmin is telling us this way probably for a reason.
Yeah.
And we didn't realize that it was a height restriction that it was trying to avoid. So, yes, this constant reassessment checklist for every trailhead, what equipment was needed, who wanted what food, clothing, are we going to leave and do a bunch of chores like washing clothes and grocery shopping, or is this a quick one where we just have to wait for the climbers and then head back out?
Right. I got to pause for just a second here. Hold on.
Fair enough.
All right. So obviously lots of planning. Yes, I used to do, marathons. I've done one ultra, and you know, this and I know this, that no matter how well trained you are, you get to race day or whatever. You honestly don't know, no matter how prepared you are. I certainly know when I was running my marathons that I just hoped I had a good running day. For someone who's also been a runner, you really hope you don't have what I call a grindy day, which is where you just can't find your breath, your pace, whatever, and you get
Hmm.
over the distance, but it's grindy. It's like it's just so much harder. And you just hope that on race day you don't have a grindy day on a marathon because it would be a long day. So
Yes, absolutely.
yeah, I mean, you were on the obviously on the clock because you're trying to set the Guinness World Record. But now, for the Guinness World Record, is it the combined time of the actual climbs up the mountain, or is it the whole entire, like the whole time from when you started on Denali to when you finished on whatever your last mountain was?
Yes, that's a great question, Xander. And interestingly, there was a lot of debate, mostly Dave, our captain, and other people that I guess have some skin in the game with respect to setting records for endurance events. So Guinness had a set of rules. I don't know if you're familiar with FKT, or fastest known time. So that's a
Yeah.
community that, at least for your audience, is say basically set standards for non-organized races. For example, if you wanted to say run up Denali and back down, there's no race for that,
Right.
but there's an FKT for that. And so Dave worked hard to try to coalesce all the rules and get those different communities to agree upon a set of rules, but there wasn't a lot of interest on the other organization's part. So we kind of had a hybrid set of rules. So to answer your question, mostly for these types of events, the clock starts when you begin your ascent of your first mountain, and then it ends at the top of, in our case, the 50th summit. So yeah, the clock continually runs. There's no stopping it at the bottom and then driving to the next one and then restarting
I
it.
got it. Yeah.
So yeah, driving counts. We tried to do all the main things like grocery shopping and washing clothes, and I mean, we probably put 15 to 17,000 miles on an RV.
Yep.
We actually had to have a couple of oil changes accomplished, and that is no easy feat. It's not like getting your car's oil changed where you
No,
just
no, it's
pull up
not
and get
30
it done.
minutes. Yeah.
And brief funny story, we're in Yellowstone. The team was on Granite, which is the highest point in Montana. And we had to drive 2.5 hours to get to Gardner to have any significant resources. Now, the good news was it was a drive through Yellowstone, so not really complaining about that.
And there's no posted daylight speed limit, so you might be able to push the RV slightly faster and not worry about getting a ticket.
Yeah, there's that. And then you talk about roadblocks and unexpected challenges. That was after the river flooded. I believe that was the summer or early fall prior. So
Right.
they had road outages, and at least when we were going through, there were a couple of spots that were one lane only in one direction at a time, so they
Yeah.
had traffic control there. So that added another half an hour, and so we got the Gardner. You know, it's like RV capital of the country. They're just everywhere. So we looked up and found a couple and drove down to one that does maintenance and oil
Yeah.
changes for RVs, and the bays are huge there. We pulled in, one bay was open. It's like, oh, this is our lucky day. We should be in and out of here. And we roll in and ask the woman at the counter if we can get an oil change. And she, nicely and calmly asked us when we'd like to have that done. And we kind of looked at each other. It's like, well, now would
Right
be
now.
great.
Yeah.
Like, we're booking 6 weeks out from today. It's like, oh my
Uh,
gosh, you got to be kidding me. So,
oh no.
but yeah, we had to engage some kind of mobile oil change
Yeah.
folks that specifically work in RVs. So we had to meet him at a truck stop one
Oh,
night,
sure.
and he to his credit crawled under there and did his thing in kind of a cold drizzle. But yeah, a lot of challenges like that. But that's life, and it's really taking one step at a time. I would add along those lines. I was doing a fair number of ultra trail races around when I did my kidney donation, and there was one I did every year that's 100K or about 62 miles, and I donated late September, and the race was mid-January, and my goal was to at least do the race.
Right.
And yeah, to your point of kind of having a grinder race, I anticipated that was going to be one of those, but they really held me back. They didn't really want me running for 4 to 6 weeks, and so I was walking a ton,
Sure.
and I probably was running a little bit before they wanted me to, but I was careful. And the worst thing I could do is take a fall, on a trail and land on the wrong side and disrupt surgical wounds that hadn't completely healed. But yeah, I progressed through that. And again, it's one step. It's walking a mile. It's walking a couple miles. It's jogging a couple miles.
Oh yeah.
Just inch your way back up to what you're used to. And sure enough, I was successful and finished that race. It wasn't my fastest time, but the goal was again to finish.
Finish it. Yeah.
And And that's when I knew, Xander, that I was really 100% recovered from my kidney donation.
Definitely. Before our time runs out, because I know it's important to you and I do want people to hear about it, talk to me a little about living kidney donation. Obviously, there's a huge need for there's so many more people who need a kidney than there are kidneys available. So talk to me a little about living donation, what people need to know.
Yes. So it's a huge challenge in this country. There's over 90,000 people on the transplant wait list just for a kidney. And once you enter that list and you start dialysis, about 50% of people will die within
Hmm.
5 years. So the need is great. There's about 26,000 kidney transplants done a year, but only a third of those are living donors.
Hmm.
And it's very safe. It's about as risky as a woman delivering a term pregnancy. So
Hmm.
the risk is not zero. It's a pretty strict evaluation, health wise and even mental health wise. Of course, the transplant centers want to make sure that you're a good candidate and that you will do well with one kidney. Our kidneys are over designed and we can easily live with one kidney, and people return to their usual state of health. And I know many donors that actually are healthier now because they take a little bit more care
Sure.
in protecting their one kidney. The only lifestyle changes are two, and they're minimal. One, just being careful about hydration, and of
Yep.
course, doing, as you well know, Xander, distance running, especially here in the heat of North Carolina. I'm a little bit more careful about my fluid intake. And
Sure.
the second
Absolutely.
is no nonsteroidal pain medications like Motrin, ibuprofen, um, Tylenol is perfectly fine. There's some belief and evidence that nonsteroidal pain medications can injure kidneys.
Sure.
So if you only have one, being a little bit more careful. But yes, there's plenty of resources out there for people to check it out. I like to summarize the experience of living kidney donation as follows. It allows an ordinary person to do an extraordinary thing to save a life.
Absolutely. Was the kidney that you donated, was it a familiar, meaning someone within your family, or was it just you happen to be a match for someone else?
So there's about 25,000 or so kidney donations done a year, but only about 6,000 are from living kidney donors. And Xander, only about a few hundred each year are folks that are called non-directed donors or sometimes altruistic donors.
Mhm.
And those folks, like myself, donate to a stranger.
Mhm.
So it goes into the system and it goes to the patient that's on the wait list that is highest on the list that is a good match for
Right.
that person's kidney. So, yes, this country could use many, many more kidney donors. The deceased donor kidneys are not nearly as good as a living kidney donor. The living donor kidneys last about twice as long, or about 15 to 20 years. That's the most important difference. And we have, just a tremendous number of people, roughly, Xander, one in every 10,000 healthy adults in this country donated a kidney, the wait list would be eliminated. So it's not unbelievably difficult goal to have. But I think it's mostly awareness and people realizing that, they can live a normal life with one kidney.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it is, yeah, obviously, kidneys being, I believe the one major organ that we have an extra. We can get by on one, and you can't do a liver donation because you only have one liver. So,
Yes, liver donations are very infrequent. And actually, Xander, you're right. You can't do without your liver. But what's amazing about a liver is that the donations are partial or a portion of your liver, and
sure.
it actually grows back. So it's a
Well, that's
pretty
cool.
phenomenal, yeah, pretty phenomenal organ. A lot more complicated surgery, a lot longer recovery time, a
Definitely.
little bit more risky. But living kidney donation, yes, is really bread and butter. And like I said, 25,000 of them are done every year in this country.
Well, that's great. I hope that we can get that number to be maybe 10x or 100x, because that would be great.
Yeah, it would be awesome. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, what information do you want people to know about how to find out more about living kidney donation, how to find you and your book, and, you know, contact you if they're like, wow, that was a great thing. I need to talk to Matt.
Yes. So my contact information about my book, my background is all easily found at my website, and that's mattharmodymd.com.
Cool.
That would be one. The second is the National Kidney Registry, and that's the organization I donated my kidney through.
Mm-hmm.
They're the country's leading living kidney donation organization. So they coordinate matching kidneys, transporting them around the country. And their website is kidneyregistry.org.
Okay.
Go there, and there's a button on the upper right hand corner saying something along the lines of interested in donation. And you can actually take a quick survey, kind of a screening survey. And most importantly, no matter how far you get along in the process and the testing, and even to the point of being in the pre-op holding area, you can always change your mind. So
Right.
there's absolutely no pressure to be committed, remain committed. It's a pretty big decision,
Clearly.
but trust me, yeah, you won't regret it. 95% of all living kidney donors, when surveyed, say that they would do it again if they had another spare kidney.
That's awesome. Matt, I want to thank you so much for sharing your epic story. Truly an epic adventure, and congratulations on being in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Thank you, Xander. It's been a pleasure talking with you today.
You bet. I want to remind everyone, if you're ready to begin your epic journey, go to epicbegins.com. And as always, remember that epic choices lead to the epic life that you want.
Get your gift copy of the award-winning book Epic Begins with One Step Forward at epicbegins.com. That's a wrap on this episode of Epic Begins with One Step Forward with your host, Xander Sprague, best-selling author, internationally acclaimed public speaker, and licensed professional clinical counselor. To make your next conference or event epic, send an email to Xander at zander@epicbegins.com. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Remember, epic choices, epic life.